Hey, welcome to Tarmac. I'm Dave.
I'm Matthew, and this big Mercedes-Benz bus next to me is none other than the GLS 400D.
That's right, it's a massive Goliath of a thing. It's the top of the tree, and well, what a magnificent sight. Come and have a look at it with us. Bring your step ladder. Okay, of course this is the S-Class of SUVs, and it really is massive, and certainly technologically wise, which Matthew will show you around in a minute, is, I mean, staggering. But the sheer size of it, I mean, it's 5.2 meters long, 2 meters wide, and almost 2 meters tall. So it's, I mean, it's massive. It really is huge, but it seems to handle the proportions remarkably well. I mean, the face, look at this. It's got the biplane grille and the massive propeller. I mean, this is the size of my hand. It's huge. I love it. And look at the depth. Oh, how much room off the ground is this? I mean, it's great. There's no worries about the sleeping policeman that you're going to run over. I mean, you could almost run over a proper policeman. Good grief. LED headlights, of course, and they also have this projector side, so when you switch them on, they live this really nice, expansive, almost like a light dance. And also plenty of airflow to get through, but it's not really that aerodynamic. I mean, it's as aerodynamic as a brick, but it's a good looking brick, right? Round the side, our model comes in diamond white, which is basically a $3,000 option, but it pulls off this big white, I don't know, massive vehicle with style. I mean, I reckon it looks really good. These look at these 23-inch, that's 2 feet of AMG wheels. So if you think about it, for 2 feet, that's 2 feet per corner, so it's an 8-footed beast, which is not bad. Rest of the side, lovely running boards, which helps me get in. Nice roof rails here, some contrasting door mirrors, and I don't know, just a really lovely flow to the whole thing. Round the rear, admittedly I'm dwarfed by many cars, including like a Fiat Punto or something like that, but look at this. I have to go right up here to get to this roofline spoiler. You've got LED tail lights, you've got fake exhaust tips, but I don't know, it makes it look pretty, and a kicker tailgate, which gives you access to 355 litres just in this space here. That's the same as the A-Class, but it's got this little special trick as well. So these two buttons here drop these two back seats down, which gives you 890 litres, and these two buttons drop the second row, which gives you access to 1470 litres. Huge. This button here, with just one finger, you can bring them all back up. Arise! And should you be struggling with any heavy items and can't lift it up over here, this button will make it drop its bum for you. And the tailgate's got one more party trick, and it's right here. So there's plenty going on back here, but there's also plenty going on under the bonnet. Let's go and check out there. A 3-litre 6-cylinder straight-six diesel that offers 243 kilowatts, 700 newton meters of torque, and it'll actually take this big hefty S-Class SUV from 0 to 100 in 6.3 seconds. That's faster than Matthew's GTI. Speaking of other things that annoy him, actually the inside doesn't, but let's go and have a look inside and Matthew will show you around.
So Dave's actually wrong with there being nothing in here that'll annoy me, because there are actually two things I can think about just off the top of my head. Firstly, as you know it, there is some soft plastics in here, which is, you know, it's fine on the smaller Mercedes and the more affordable ones, but on something that's the S-Class SUV, I'm not sure that it's quite at home in here. The second thing also is the build quality in certain places leaves a little bit to be desired. Some of the switches and things tend to move around when you push on them. So Dave has already told you about the facts and figures about how wide this car is and how tall it is and obviously how long it is, but sitting in here you really get a feel for those figures. They really come alive because you feel so dwarfed in this cabin. And just to give you an idea of how wide it is, normally cars have 2 central AC vents. Well, this one has 4 in the middle. That's 2 in the middle for each person in the front, along with of course the 1 side vent. That's a lot of AC. Another thing that's weird for the cabin is sort of the almost a lack of symmetry, if you like, because the driver has an AC vent on the side here next to the screen, which has, you know, some silvery designs on it, but then there's a fake vent on the other side of the screen, which looks exactly the same, but is not an AC vent. Down the center console, we get some signature wooden trim finishes of this sort of range of Mercedes cars, so the open pore wooden trim finishing is really nice and feels smooth to touch, along with of course the brushed aluminium handles with a little bit of a riveting feel to it. You also get leather basically on everything in the middle here. It's soft and it's along the grab handles and along the armrests and everywhere you touch, frankly. Now if you notice that the seats have quite a strong texture to them, well, Mercedes intend to do that, and that's why this is called black rough leather. Now these seats look big and a bit bulky, but that's because of the amount of technology they're packing in them. So they are of course fully electric, including the headrest. You also get heated seats, you get ventilated seats, you get massaging a massaging function in the seat as well. And you also get headrests that have a sort of side bolster of their own to them. So when you are cornering in this car, your head won't be thrown around, and neither will your body with the size of these side bolsters. So one of the cool things that Mercedes does with their infotainment screens is give you 3 options with which to use it. Now, you can obviously use it as a touchscreen, so if you notice as I bring my finger closer, it'll highlight the options even. So if I go into comfort, take a look at that speed of the touch response. It's almost like a smartphone. That's a pretty big step for infotainment screens like this. Obviously, secondly, you get the trackpad down here, which again, simple to use and all the buttons are neatly laid out. And then the third option, that's on the steering wheel here. So you can use the trackpad here to flick through the different menus and then press the home button to return to home, and so on. You've even got a volume adjuster knob over here. And there's one more party trick that this infotainment screen has, which is the MBUX system. As always, it's simple and it really reads your voice well. And I've got to commend Mercedes for that. It makes it really simple to change the radio station or to adjust your heated seats or whatever. It does a good job of it. Another cool party trick that is found just under the infotainment screen here is the air conditioning controls. Now if you notice that the lighting is red on there, and if I reduce the temperature, it actually turns blue for a moment. If you want to increase the temperature, you just press the knob up and it lights up in red. Now I know the color is red anyway, but it does actually do this. The other big screen over here is of course the second screen, your virtual dashboard here. It's noticeably big. Remember, this is a big car, so everything in here is sort of supersized in a way. The screen, as we know with Mercedes-Benz cars, is infinitely customizable. You can flick through and change the display in the middle. You can have your radar system and whatever else you want, frankly. And of course, with changing the driving modes, you can change the look of the dials as well. Now those are all cool features, but remember, this is a 7-seater SUV, so let's check out those 2 rows of seating behind me. Now obviously this Mercedes is a big car by anyone's standards, frankly, and the interior does not disappoint at all. There's plenty of knee room in front of me, as you can see. If I was even a foot taller, I probably wouldn't have a problem sitting in the back of this car. Headroom, there's a ton of it as well. This one even has a panoramic sunroof, which is said to reduce the headroom a bit, but in this car it certainly doesn't make a difference. The rear passengers get fully adjustable electrical seats, along with, of course, an adjusting electrical headrest. You also get mounts here if you want the rear seat infotainment system. Mercedes-Benz have your charging needs sorted. You pull this little drawer down, you get two USB Type-C charging ports down there. But weirdly enough, the last row of seats has more charging points than this middle row of seats, even though you can sit fewer people in the back there. But anyway, speaking of that last row of seats, let's hop in the back and take a look. With most cars, if you want to clamber into that third row of seats, you have to pull some levers and tabs and stuff like that and get the seats to fold down. But there's none of that in this car, because with the push of a button, this happens. In the back here, there's plenty of headroom, as you can see there. In fact, almost as much as some SUVs have in the second row of seats. But weirdly enough, there are 4 USB Type-C charging ports in the back of this car, 2 for each passenger. Enough with all these buttons and fiddly switches around here. We know that this is a large SUV, and they are pretty notorious for riding quite waverly and tend to bob around from side to side when you're going around corners. But let's take this GLS for a drive and see if it can change that.
So I know I joke quite a lot about my size, but realistically, this vehicle, this GLS, really does make me feel small. But it's not imposing. When you're driving it, it feels really good. It feels it feels just right. I know that may sound really strange to believe, but it's, I don't know, maybe small man's disease, but it's a really good vehicle to drive.
It's weird what Mercedes have done, because it's got a 3-litre straight-six diesel under the front, but it doesn't sound like much, and certainly this is a heavy car, but the way that engine pulls this heavy car, it makes, frankly, light work of it. Same thing with the steering wheel. It just doesn't feel like you're navigating this car.
No, more chartering a boat or putting in a thing, but also, actually, funnily enough, it doesn't feel like a boat. It should. At 5.2 meters, you should be like steering a big, massive ship, and it should lollop about. But even through tight bends, it's really good, and the pickup from the 6-cylinder is really good, and it just doesn't sound like a diesel. It doesn't rattle and knock, and it just picks it up nicely.
Certainly got a bit of that throaty sound to it, very much something that we hear from straight-six engines, but straight-six petrol engines. This is a diesel. It's supposed to sound different, but it doesn't really.
The luxury is unmistakable. I mean, the leather, the fine leather is good. I actually quite like this rough texture. It's good. The screens, the technology, amazing. I mean, I'm getting used to it. Getting used to the Mercedes tech now. But it's easy to navigate around. It really is very helpful. Even to the point where you can look up Yelp and it'll give you restaurant suggestions and things like that. So it's very, very good for there. And also, just look at the distance between Matthew and I. It's great. For 2 people that don't get on, this is magnificent.
For 2 people who spend so much time together, there's enough space for us to take a time out in one of the many rows of this car.
Yeah, actually, I could send you right to the right back, and you'd still be comfortable, but and also I wouldn't have to see you. I could see you right down the end. Comfort-wise, yeah, the driving position is great and so adjustable. Even the massage settings, I think there's 8 different massage settings, which is, again, magnificent. And I can just say, hey, Mercedes,
how may I help you?
Put my massage seat on.
I'm switching on the massage.
Awesome. I don't even have to do it manually.
Hey, aren't you going to turn mine on as well?
You do that yourself.
And the massage seats, actually, I've got to say, work really well. I took a bit of a battering at football this morning, but sitting in these seats and getting the massagers to do the work for me was a welcome relief for my aching bones.
Your aching bones. Should be my aching bones. The big feet really do, or 8 feet as I want to say now, really do hug the road well. There's so much rubber. I mean, wow, it just feels confidence with the 4-wheel drive system, but also just, I mean, the footprint is so big.
I mean, mean, you just look at those wheels and they come up to, I think, more than our knees even. It's 23 inches and the rubber is so wide, and somehow they've managed to fit a space-saver spare wheel in the back there.
I love the seats. I love the electric seats, so you can just on demand get them all to go flat. Actually, I just love the simplicity of everything being push button. You know, it is the S class of SUVs, but it really does feel that way.
There's definitely plenty of electronic motors in here that do everything for you, so all you need is just enough muscle to move your finger and everything else falls into place.
If only the rest of life was so good with just this finger rather than the other finger. Added to the actual comfort and luxury of this vehicle is the soft closed doors. Even that, you don't have to slam it, although my son does keep slamming it. But you just gently get it close to it, it'll just bring it in, job done. I love the ease of how everything happens.
It's all the little things, you know, that just make that driving experience and living with it so much easier and so much more effortless, which is, I guess, why you pay for that extra money to have the S-Class of SUVs. It really does make a difference.
It does seem funny to say also the little things when you say it about a vehicle of this size. Very cool.
I couldn't contradict myself anymore.
Oh, the irony. Again, with the one push button ease of things, I can adjust Matthew's seat just on this side. I can take control of him moving forwards, backwards. I can make him recline and get him to the back of things. It's just great.
The driver does get a lot of control in this car, admittedly. There's a button on the driver's side to open and shut the tailgate. There's also a button to reveal and hide away the tow bar. And as Dave just showed you, there's a button that makes the passenger seat do all sorts of weird things.
Exactly. The stereo system is awesome, as Matthew pointed out. Burmester, just amazing. Very, very bassy in a way it goes. And just overall luxury. It's fantastic. It's also loaded with safety aids, you know, lane keep assist. Also, it keeps an eye on you, so it tells you if you're fatigued or driving badly. So I'm surprised it hasn't popped up already. It ticks all boxes and some. Actually, boxes I hadn't even thought of before.
And obviously in a car like this, you want it to have 360-degree cameras, and it does have that because, well, there are a few blind spots around you, and it is hard to look around and know where all the different corners of your car are. The sensors on this car as well are all around, and it doesn't quite like being down narrow roads or narrow lanes where there's trees coming down. It does tend to beep away, and that's only understandable with the cost of the paint job on this car.
Yeah. So there you have it, the 2020 Mercedes-Benz GLS 400D, sorry, Mr. Zero. It is a mammoth car or mammoth SUV, but boy have they filled it with so much stuff to make your life better. I thoroughly enjoy it. I've had it for basically a week now, and I'm not particularly fussed about giving it back right now, to be honest.
It's certainly got plenty to play with, and everything seems to be just a touch of a button away.
Yep, if life was just that easy. Thanks for watching. Actually, just use your finger and push the subscribe button around here somewhere.
And also, while you're at it, don't forget to give our videos a thumbs up. And once you're done watching, keep your eyes on the road.
Cheers. See you next time.